After losing her memory and her parents in an accident, a girl needs to fight to do well in school. At the same time, she now lives with her adoptive brother, a boy she's known since childhood. But the guy is sometimes really nice to her and sometimes a bit of a jerk. However, this may indicate deeper feelings that will affect both their lives in ways they never imagined. Hey my friend, everything's cool? Sweet First Love is a Chinese drama from 2020, which is silly and quite fun for those who enjoy comedies and romance. Today, I'm going to give you a recap of the first episodes so you can get to know this series and its sweet story better. Ready for our story? Well, after an accident that sent her parents to the great beyond, our protagonist, Su Nianfeng, was adopted by the family of Su Muyun, a boy she had known since childhood. Their parents are almost always traveling because of their jobs, so the two live practically alone. One morning, Su Nian wakes up to find Sumu sleeping on the floor of her room, and they soon start arguing because he keeps teasing her. They both study at the same school, but in different classes. That morning, she makes coffee for them and heads to school, but she ends up forgetting her homework notebook at home. While Su Nian is mad about it, Sumu shows up and enters her class, bringing her notebook and saving his adoptive sister's neck. In fact, they're on a break, and she's going there for extra tutoring because her grades are poor. But her adoptive brother is super smart and doesn't need that kind of enforcement, so he mainly goes there to deliver the notebook and take care of her. Back at home, Su Nian is admiring a photo of her crush Qin Yao, who plays on the same basketball team as Su Mu. Her adoptive brother doesn't like that she's admiring the guy's photo, but when she asks if he's jealous, he says he's not. Meanwhile, they don't know that Su Nian has an admirer, Lady Yin. The next day, there's a basketball game with Su Mu and Qin Yao on the court. All the girls in school are swooning over Su Mu, including Liu Zihui, a super popular influencer who falls for him during this match. After the game, with Su Nian back in the classroom, the teacher tells her that her grades are really bad. So to make up for it, she decides to study at school until late. So Sumu acts all nice and goes there to bring her food and help her study. When they return home, she thanks him very happily, leaving her adoptive brother feeling awkward. That night, Su Nian have a nightmare about her parents' accident, and we see that Su Mu is sleeping on the floor of her room because her bad dreams. The next day, she wakes up all late, and her stepbrother offers to take her to school on his bike. As they're arriving, they bump into Liu Zihui, who gets mad. Without paying much attention to the girl, Su Nian rushes into class, and Su Mu goes to another part of the school. In class, Su Nian picks up her homework notebook, and sees that her stepbrother has written a bunch of stuff in it. She gets mad at him, but he had anticipated the questions that would be on her test and written the answers there. Sumu is kind of annoyed because he thought his adoptive sister would be thrilled. And he even sees her talking to Lady Yin, which makes him jealous, and because of that he throws a paper ball at her. Meanwhile, Liu arrives and gives him a pair of expensive shoes, but he just rejects them in front of everyone, leaving the girl feeling embarrassed. After all this, Sumu have a flashback to when he and Su Nian were little, and some boys pushed her off the swing. He was too small to defend her, and that's why he cried a lot when it happened. But his future adoptive sister comforted him at that time, saying she would cook things for him to eat and get very strong so he could defend her in the future. That night, the adoptive parents come home, and she rats out Sumu for the things he does to her. When the time for Su Nian to take the test comes, but since she didn't look at the answers her stepbrother put in the notebook, she did really badly and got the worst grade in the class. In fact, everyone laughs at her, but Sumu is there and defends his adoptive sister by confronting the teacher in front of everyone. Then he comforts her, and they review the test together. What happened was that Su Nian didn't do poorly because she got everything wrong, but because she filled out the wrong side of the test paper. Knowing this, Sumu manages to use his reputation and convince the teacher to let her take another test. Right when she's about to retake the test, her adoptive brother tells her he believes in her, and she ends up getting a really good grade. As Sumu helped his adoptive sister study, they started getting closer, and there's a real connection between them now, even though he's sometimes a jerk to her. But now, he can hardly hide his jealousy, especially towards two specific people, her friend Lady Yin and Qin Yao from the basketball team. Su Nian is putting so much effort into her studies that one day she forgets to eat and is taken to the infirmary by her adoptive brother. Since Su Nian's friend is helping her study, Sumu gets pretty jealous and starts spying on them. This situation leads to an argument between them, and Su Nian says she doesn't want to see her adoptive brother anymore. But one night, when they're about to sleep, he finds her about to throw herself out the window while sleepwalking and stops her just in time. Actually, this is something he has done before, as she has been sleepwalking since their parents' accident. Thanks to Sumu's grades, a professor offers him a scholarship to study at a top university in China, but he refuses. The reason, of course, is because he wants to stay close to his adoptive sister. Meanwhile, the school talent show is coming up, and Su Nian is too scared to participate. Even with her stepbrother's encouragement, she only decides to do it because Qin Yao might notice her. Naturally, this makes Sumu pretty upset. To overcome his jealousy of Su Nian, he goes out with Liu Zihui to eat. But because he has a sensitive stomach, he ends up feeling sick and goes home with a fever. So his adoptive sister takes care of him. The next day, Su Nian is rehearsing for the talent show with Liu Zihui, and they meet Hu Yan, who apparently is Qin Yao's girlfriend. She mocks Su Nian, saying she has no talent. Nevertheless, the girl perseveres in her rehearsals and starts training hard to perform. After all this, the adoptive siblings are at home when Su Nian finds out that Lady Yin is in the hospital. He has a heart problem, but he never told Nian anything about it. She wants to go see him, but it's night time, and there are rumors of a criminal roaming the streets, so Sumu takes her there. When they arrive, they talk to Lady Yin's father and go to his room. While they're there, Lady Yin wakes up, making Su Nian super happy. Sumu was being a jerk to the guy, but he ends up treating him really well. This makes his adoptive sister super happy, and because of that, she starts treating him much better too. That night, when they're about to sleep and he goes to check if she's okay, thinking she's asleep, he tells Su Nian that he worked so hard for her to study and do well that he ended up neglecting her happiness. So he also decides to support her in this mission and will do whatever it takes to help her in talent show. But his adoptive sister wasn't sleeping. She hears everything and smiles back at him in response. But Sumu says that if she wants to do well in the talent show and be like a singer she admires, she'll have to try harder. Su Nian tries but ends up getting tired quickly. While visiting Lady Yin recovering in the hospital, he asks her if she likes her adoptive brother, and she denies it. After all these things, she has to give a speech in front of the whole school as part of the talent show presentation. She's ready to perform with a speech she wrote but forgets the paper in home and is forced to improvise. So Su Nian starts speaking from the heart and is encouraged by Lady Yin, who has left the hospital and comes to support her. Everyone listens to her and really enjoys the speech, applauding Su Nian a lot. She reveals that she wants to study medicine and become a doctor, but because of her low grades, everyone laughs at her dream. Sumu doesn't let her get demotivated and says that if he learns to cook, she can be a great doctor. So he spends the whole night making breakfast for Su Nian, as well as leaving some motivational notes all over the house. Meanwhile, Su Nian starts working to save money for a farewell gift for Lady Yin. But one night after she finishes work, she faints in the taxi she took because of the trauma from the accident. Sumu goes after her and ends up finding Su Nian in the taxi and takes her home. There, she opens up to her adoptive brother, saying she's sad because her only friend is leaving. Then he says he also wants to be her friend, and the two end up getting a little closer. Meanwhile, the school year is ending, and Su Nian is very nervous about the final exam that will determine her university future. But Su Mu ends up calming her down and helping her prepare for the last exam. And when she takes it, she does really well and gets into a university, but it'll be different from the one her adoptive brother is going to. Oh, just when they started showing stronger feelings for each other, they won't be studying together anymore. What's going to happen now? If you enjoyed this recap up to here, then put part 2 in the comments. I'll bring the rest of this story that's going to have a lot of cool twists. Well, this is an analysis of the first 6 episodes of Sweet First Love from 2020. Without a doubt, this is a cool drama worth checking out. We're in this together, hugs from Henrique. Mission accomplished, over and out.